welcome. Welcome to That's the Law. I'm BJ Krintzman. I'm an attorney in Newton, and we are coming to you on Zoom. And we have been coming to you on Zoom since this whole pandemic began about a year ago. And this could be maybe our fifth or sixth show. I'm not exactly sure. But we're, trying to achieve be as normal as we can, even though we're on Zoom. But what happened actually was during this pandemic, there's been a lot of emphasis on the elderly and the whole business about flattening the curve and the whole business about who gets vaccinated first has really been geared at the elderly, who are the most susceptible members of our society and who are also the most susceptible to COVID-19. So that got me thinking, and I have friends and talking to some of my friends who were, about to put their mothers in nursing homes or what we now refer to as congregant settings. And they were reluctant to do that because that's where the largest outbreaks were occurring. So that got me to thinking about how people want to stay home as long as they can, and particularly during this pandemic. So I started to think about home health care and how you can keep loved ones at home as long as possible. So that got me thinking about my friend Jeanne Smillie, with whom I play tennis and have been playing tennis for years. I don't even know how many years. But anyway, Jeannie and her sister Ceci run Abundant Home Healthcare Services. So I was very excited to have them on the show. And let me first welcome you, Jeanne Smillie. Nice to have you on the show.
Thank you, BJ, for having us. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm happy. I'm thrilled that we can get some of this information out to the public. And also I'll welcome Ceci Murphy, and she's Jeannie's sister, and they are partners in Abundant Home Healthcare, correct?
Yes, we are. Thank you very much, BJ.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great to have you guys on. So before we get into the home healthcare services, I wanted to hear a little bit about the two of you. You're sisters, but I think you have a gazillion brothers and sisters, and you grew up in Massachusetts, but I think not in Newton, right?
Right. We grew up, I have 6 brothers and sisters, and we did grow up in Somerville, and I've been out of Somerville for a long time. I moved to Needham first, and I was there for about 10 years, and then I moved to Newton, which I love. I love the city very much. But the family was huge, and Ceci will get more into why we started Abundant Home Care, but basically it was all around my parents and when they were getting older and what we needed to do for them. So that's it. I mean, we grew up in a really tight neighborhood. Everybody knew everybody, and it was fun. It was a nice place to grow up, and we had really good experiences.
Well, we're happy to have you in Newton, and I'm happy to have you as my tennis friend, because as I said, we've been playing for years. We have a good time on the tennis court. Ceci, is she telling me the truth? Is that really what happened?
Well, you know how Jeanne is. No, you know what, Jeanne, when you were saying that, it was a close-knit neighborhood. It really was. Everybody went to the same school from grade school on up. And so you knew all the parents, and the parents knew you. And if you weren't doing exactly what they thought your mother would like, my mother would hear. But yeah, it was fun. It was really a fun place to live. Having a big family is different. I mean, actually, it's really good. And you know what, though? You learn to be very independent. I have to say that. That's really part of coming from at least our big family. And I moved to Cambridge, the Republic of years. And then I bought my first house, not this house, but another house in Newton. And I've been in Newton for 25 years, 26 years now. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So you're a newcomer. We call you newcomer.
I'm a newcomer. Exactly.
All right. So tell us about, by the way, I'm intrigued with two sisters who get along so well that they actually went into business together, which is just so fabulous. But tell the story. Jeannie alluded a little bit to how your parents were getting elderly and you were looking for some help. So Ceci, you want to tell us about that?
Okay, sure. I'd love to, actually. As my parents aged, it was getting more and more difficult for them to keep up with the house, to even including the daily chores, the shopping, the cooking, the laundry, the whole thing. So, but you know what? They wanted to stay in their own home. It's where they raised their family. And as I said, they're very familiar with the neighbors. And so, and like, to be honest with you, they've done surveys and 85% of American seniors want to age in their own home and stay there as long as possible.
Right. You know what? I was going to say, Ceci, if you think you're telling us an unusual story, you're not.
No.
Everybody wants to stay in their house. And also everybody can do less and less as you get older and older. So far, right. You know.
So far. I know. And the other thing too is, as your family grows, your sisters and brothers, everybody gets married and they have their own jobs and they have their own families that they have to take care of. So you're not really available for your parents to take care of your parents on a regular basis. So knowing that, we decided that we would contact some home health agencies. We didn't own it at that time. And so that's what we did. And we interviewed and we asked a lot of questions. There's 7 of us, so there was 7 times 20 questions. And we got a lot of questions in, but we forgot to ask one question. And so we hired this agency and it seemed fine. And first the home health aide showed up on time and she was well-dressed and all of that, fine. My mother took her all over the house, and it was a big house, and showed her, where everything was. And it took my mom over an hour, I would say, to do all of that. And then, of course, during the day, because the aide was new, she was still asking questions. So then the next day comes, and another aide shows up, a whole different aide. And so, of course, she had to go through it all again. And when she told us about that, that was the one question we didn't ask. We didn't ask, how many aides do you assign to one client? And so we called the agency and we asked them if it was possible that they could just send 2 of the same, whatever. And they said, no, I'm sorry, that's not how we schedule. So I said, okay, well, then this isn't going to work out for us because mother, the whole reason was to have some time off and do the things that she and my father wanted to do. So we hired another agency and that seemed to work out. And one of the things we were really looking forward to was being able to go over to our parents' house and just visit, not have to say, oh gosh, the trash isn't out or the laundry's not done or whatever. So we would, we kind of had a schedule, it was a loose schedule that people at least 3 or 4 times a week, somebody would go over and, visit with my parents. So that worked out great. One night after work, I went over and we would go unannounced, not for any other reason, except for you never really knew if you were going to be able to go or not, your schedule. So I went over one night unannounced and it is sitting in the kitchen on her chair and my mother is up making tea. And herself. And I just said, oh, yeah, this is not what we wanted. So,
all right. So Ceci, to sort of, you were dissatisfied with the service. Is it fair to say you were dissatisfied with the kind of healthcare services that were available?
Well, the ones that we talked to.
That you talked to, right.
Yeah.
So, and what was the impetus for you starting your own service? Is that right?
Yeah, it actually was, because Jeanne and I were at the point where we wanted a second career anyway, and we had friends who were in the medical field, and they said, you guys have been in business have business experience all your life. You know how to run a business. And they introduced us to assisted livings, and they were very, very helpful in initiating us into the home health care agencies.
Okay, good. So now let's talk about forget how the bad agencies work. Let's talk about the good agencies and how yours works. And I want to begin sort of at the beginning, which is that if somebody calls you, guess is they don't know exactly what they need. And what they do need is some kind of an assessment of whoever the client is going to be. So Jeanne, how does that happen, that you do an assessment of needs?
Okay, if they're in their own home, for example, say your mother needed help and you called, and I would say, okay, we'd be happy to, try to get as much information out of you as possible. But what we end up doing is we make an appointment to go over to the home with you and your mom, and we sit down and we ask you what you're looking for, what your needs are, how the house is set up. Oftentimes there are just dangerous things in the house that you've overlooked. So you've got to, when you're a child, you have to childproof. When you're older, you also have to, proof your house so that you're safe. Then what we do then is we create a care plan. And oftentimes, basically, all it is that people need medication reminders. They need to be reminded when they have their medical appointments. So whatever their needs are, we write up a care plan, and then we assign a care manager to each and every client, and they're the actual point person from the client to abundance. So they always have access to us.
All right. So it sounds, Jeanne, so far like you assess the client. You also assess their living environment. If there are scatter rugs, just to use a crazy.
Yes, exactly.
Or a stove that looks very dangerous, or they're wearing a bathrobe that has a sleeve hanging down into the gas stove. So you do an assessment of their environment. You would do an assessment of them. And then I would imagine that people would ask you, or who decides how much time is required, whether they need 24/7 care or whether they're fine with just someone during the day, a few hours,
I think that's kind of a mutual decision. And oftentimes what happens is people will start with maybe a 12-hour shift, and then they realize that they need more help. Or sometimes they'll come in with a 24-hour shift and say, oh, no, I think she's doing okay. We can, reduce the hours. So that's a flexible situation. And that input is, we're always, as a care manager, whoever is assigned to that client is constantly involved with what is happening. We're in touch with the client, we're in touch with the family, we're in touch with the certified nursing assistant that we have assigned to the client.
That person. All right. And Ceci, I was going to say, I know this is a moving target. Okay. Clients don't stay how they are day one. So how do you work on that assessment as the needs change?
Well, what we do, and it was part of our experience with our own parents, is that we assign the same aides, maybe 2 or 3, depending on how many hours we're working. If we're working 24 hours, it's usually split up into 2 12-hour shifts. And so by keeping the same aides with the same client, they can see if they're getting better or if they're getting worse, and they can, and as unfortunately people usually do get worse. It doesn't mean they have to leave their home. It just means that they might need longer hours than they originally started with. As Jeanne said, it's pretty flexible in the beginning. I mean, it's always flexible. We work for you. So whatever you need. And oftentimes we'll get our clients will come from a hospital or from a rehab center. And at that point, we get a care plan from the doctors and from the nurses, and we take it from there. And they pretty much they'll say she really needs help for at least a month, and they're telling the family as well. And
yeah, well, that's a rehab situation where they're rehabilitating from some trauma,
brokenness or whatever, right?
That's happened. All right,
and they're coming out of the hospital too.
And your care managers would also assess, for instance, this person can continue to stay at home, but the bedroom has to be moved to the first floor, or, things like that. It could be configurational things that can accommodate how the person is progressing. Is that right?
Exactly. And, grab bars in the bathroom or even in the hallway. And that's part of the assessment in the beginning too. And we really look around. The fortunate part of the whole thing is why I have to say contributes to our success is because we came in as customers, clients, as a family, and we know what you go through. I mean, we're through it ourselves. So we know how it's a difficult time for people. And it's scary.
It is scary. So, and it's burdensome, and
yes.
it's what's called the squeeze generation, the people in the middle who are taking care of kids and taking care of the elderly, and the parents as well. Tell me about the kinds of services so that, for instance, what is reasonable and what's unreasonable? Would a health aide go food shopping, for instance? Tell me the kinds of things. I don't know, Jeannie, you want to start and tell me?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, basically what we decide is that if they, we'll do medication, we'll go to the pharmacy for them, we'll go to the food, to the grocery store with them. We often ask them to come with us because it's an outing for the elderly person. We'll take them to their doctor's appointments. We'll make sure that their schedule is up to date. If they have any, appointments set up afterwards, we'll do light housekeeping. We'll do meal prep, medication reminders. We do hygiene if they need it. That is kind of what the care plan's all about, to decide what they need and how often they need the help. We'll take them to the hairdresser so they feel beautiful. And that's a big lift for a lot of people. Nails, hair done, it's huge.
Right.
Some of them do.
All right. We are on Zoom. We are talking to Jeanne Smillie and Ceci Murphy, who are with Abundant Home Healthcare. And we're talking about sort of how to age in place for as long as you can, and including during this time of this pandemic. Jeannie, do your, or maybe Ceci, do your, the health aides have drivers? They all have driver's licenses, so they can take you to these appointments. You might have doctor's appointments or hair appointments, nail appointments. Give people a lift,
Absolutely. Yeah, they, let me just, as far as the aides go, they're all, they have driver's license. We make sure that they have insurance and it's up to date, that the driver's license is valid. They are insured, they are bonded, and we do a Corey check, which is it's
A criminal background.
any arrests, et cetera. And we also do background checks. So we feel, we don't, maybe if we can interview 10 people, we may hire just 2.
How do you do your background check? Corey, for those of you who don't know, that's a criminal background check. That's whether this person has been in the system yet or not. But how do you do background checks?
Well, we call the family. The family, usually the actual client is no longer with us, but we can call that person's family. And what I mean is they've passed away. So we can call their family and say, how did you like the aid?
Oh, you're talking about prior references, how they
I'm sorry, right.
Where they worked previously.
Prior references, And Corey's, so that's...
And also, in addition, if they're driving our clients, we have an extra insurance program.
Yeah, that's true.
Put them on, so they have their own insurance, but we also have them on, it's called safety insurance. It's extra. So we make sure that everybody's covered and there's no problems.
All right. Now, you mentioned earlier that there's a client services manager for each client that you have. Is that a different person from the person who is the actual aide?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so the client, tell me what the client services manager does.
I can do that. Okay, so basically the client service, the manager is the direct contact between the client and Abundant Home Healthcare. They work with the families very closely to make sure that there's open communication and they don't have to, they're always in touch with us. They help develop the care plan. They hire they decide who the CNA will be that will work with the client. They also make they come unannounced. God, I can't speak. I'm sorry.
Unannounced.
They go unannounced to the client's home to make sure that the care plan is being followed accurately, and if not, they make the adjustments. And finally, what we do is we meet with the client separately and the aide to answer any questions or concerns that may come up over the course of our services.
And Ceci, do you make any attempt, I don't know how large your workforce is, but do you make any attempt to kind of fit the right aide with that person, to match the personalities kind of, because you can see how an aide could be a great aide, but could drive somebody crazy because they're just it's the wrong fit. So how do you do that?
Well, and initially, the case manager will come, but we also I'd say 99% of the time, on the first visit to the client, I'm there or Jeanne is there. So we can and the reason for that is so that we can get a sense of what the client is like. And if they're quiet, if they like to have somebody vivacious, you can get a sense because you're with them for about an hour. So you
do make an attempt.
And then you match them.
Yeah, try to match the personalities.
Yeah, we have about 48, so.
You have what?
We have about 40 certified nursing assistants. So.
Right, so you do have some wiggle room there to match up the right people.
Exactly.
You also offer concierge services.
Yeah.
Tell us about the concierge services.
Yes.
I would like to do that. Okay, Abundant Concierge was developed because people who have day surgery and get anesthesia are not allowed to drive themselves home. So, I've told you stories about the concierge services that we have, but basically they're for anybody that is having day surgery and they have anesthesia. People that utilize that oftentimes are people who are having plastic surgeries, colonoscopies, endoscopies, cataract surgery, ECT, and it's just for anybody it's not for any age group specific, it's just for anybody who is having day surgery.
All right, so I could call up Abundant Home Care Services and say, I'm having a cataract, removed a week from Thursday, and I could hire your services just for that. Take me over there and then pick me up, correct?
Exactly.
And so it could be a limited engagement kind of thing.
Right. Exactly.
You don't have to be a client.
Right. Now, I think you also, what I saw on your website, and we'll put the website up on the screen
Thanks.
at various times during this conversation and certainly at the end. But also your concierge services seem to indicate if you want to go to symphony, if you want to go to theater, if you want to go meet a friend for dinner. So tell me about that.
Please, you can tell them about that.
Oh, okay.
I've already told them.
Yeah, you know what? That's really a good service. A lot of older people, they like symphony, for example. And so Friday afternoon, usually in this age group, it's a Friday afternoon performance that they prefer. And we drive them. And oftentimes there's 2 or 3 of them together, to be honest. We take all of them. And we drive them in, we leave we take, if they need help to get into, I'm just using symphony, but if they need help to get into the building, we're there for that. And then, of course, we know what time they're going to be ready to be picked up. Yep. And we know the policemen out front. They let us wait while to be right there for the client.
All right. So there, again, you could hire someone just to take you to theater. Next Thursday night or symphony Friday afternoon. So that's an available service that you have.
Another place, I'm sorry,
Sure.
Weddings. A lot of, if your daughter's getting married, you don't really have time to take care of your own mother, but you want her at the event. So we can have a certified nursing aide take care of your mom during the wedding, and the family, everybody enjoys, including the client for the day.
What a great idea.
That's a good service.
That is a good service. Now, do you happen to charge for these services?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you do.
Yeah.
So, is it an hourly rate? I want to know about the home health aide as well as the concierge stuff. How you charge? If it's an hourly rate, or if it's how you do this?
Well, for me, okay. So for the driving, for the concierge service, it depends on if you're going from Newton to Boston for your surgery, for the day surgery, then that's a rate. If you're going just one way, it costs less. If you want us to pick you up and take you in and bring you back, then that's a different rate altogether. Yeah. Also, the other thing is, matter of fact, one of our drivers right now is in Portsmouth.
Portland.
Oh, Portland, Maine. Yeah, they have a ride today. They had to bring somebody up to Portland, Maine. So, I mean, in other words, we don't have we're not limited geographically.
Yeah.
either.
All right. So, and you do charge a rate when someone has a health aide in the house.
Okay.
I'm talking about, a long-term thing, 6 hours a day, 12 hours a day, whatever it is. Is that an hourly rate? Is that a negotiated rate? Does it depend on how much time is being used by the person?
Well, actually, we have two services. We have one that is an hourly rate, and that's the one most people use.
Okay.
And so we have a minimum of 5 hours. And often, most people they need 12-hour service or 24-hour service. Okay, I mean you can have anywhere from 5 up to 24.
All right. So you would discuss this. We're getting close to the end of the show, and the thing that I do want to talk about is we are in the pandemic, COVID-19. Tell me what you are demanding of your aides. Are you demanding that people be vaccinated? Are they getting vaccinated? Masks? What kind of precautions do you have in place? Jeannie, I want to know everything.
You got it. Okay, what they have in place is all of our aides are vaccinated, at least 50%. They may have to go back for the second shot, but they've all initiated the process. Everybody wears masks even after they've been inoculated twice. Gloves we wear gloves. We wear masks, we hand sanitize. Everybody knows the proper way to wash their hands. We wipe down all the surfaces that we use. When the Abundant Concierge, they leave the windows open in the car. We bring blankets so the client's not cold, but we make sure that that's done to keep the air circulating. We follow all of the CDC rules, and we're very, very conscientious because, first of all, we don't want our aides to get sick, but we don't want our clients to get sick either.
That would kill your business right there.
Absolutely.
And by the way, does a client have to wear a mask when the aides are in the house, or they don't have to?
Actually, we keep the same aide and the client together, so there's less worry about transmission.
Yeah.
And the clients don't usually keep a mask on. The people that drive with the Abundant Concierge absolutely have to wear a mask, even though everyone gets tested before they go in for their procedure. So it's just an abundance of caution. No one will get this thing.
Oh, get it? An abundance.
Oh, you like that?
I like that, Jeanne.
Did you see how she did that?
Smooth.
So I have to ask, of course, how's business? Business must be fabulous because nobody wants to send anyone to a congregant setting right now.
Well, that's so true. Yeah, it's on and off, to be honest with you. I expect this year will be better. We did very well last year. We expect this. We should do just as well, if not better, this year. I think because everyone's having getting vaccinated and the fear is off. Is high as it was last year.
Well, listen, guys, I want to thank you both for coming. I was happy to highlight your business. First of all, I love highlighting a woman run business. So that's exciting. Local business is always exciting. Yeah. And also, I know you're running a business. I know you're looking to, make a living from doing this, but it's also such a great public service. It's just such a tremendous service for people, for an aging community, as in some ways we are. Well, we're all aging, that we need it. So anyway, thank you so much for coming on. All the best. Stay healthy, stay safe. Yeah. And again, thanks for coming on. And we will see you next time on That's the Law. Good night.
Thanks, BJ.
Good night. Thank you so much.